Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. As real estate investors, we need to focus on the markets we're in while we look for new opportunity. Today, we're going to talk about a different way to get exposure to real estate and at the same time, consider the broader economic picture. We'll talk stocks, bonds, REITs, and more with one of our favorite economists. Today on the Real Estate Guys radio program. There she blows. Just a few spots remain for the Real Estate Guys 19th Annual Investor Summit. Imagine spending an entire week with like-minded investors, world-class educators, and real-world professionals. Returning this year is the editor of the Gold Newsletter, Brian London, international real estate developer Beth Clifford, Jim Rohn's 18-year business partner Kyle Wilson, and the author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, G. Edward Griffin. Plus, coming back for his 9th Investor Summit, best-selling author and the Rich Dad advisor for real estate, Ken McElroy. And joining us live in person once again, Robert Kiyosaki. Plus, lots more. It all begins June 11th in beautiful Belize. Visit realestateguysradio.com and click the tab that says Summit to reserve your spot while there's still one left. This transformational week is like no conference you've ever attended. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Investor Summit and make plans to spend a week with the Real Estate Guys, Ken McElroy, Robert Kiyosaki, and an all-star faculty on the 19th Annual Investor Summit. Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. Joining me, as usual, in the co-host seat, it is Russell Gray, our financial strategist.
Hey, Robert.
We love real estate. We talk about real estate all the time. I mean, come on, we're the Real Estate Guys. But if you listen to the show for any period of time, you know that we have to pull our heads out of the real estate sand from time to time and take a look around. What's happening elsewhere? One of the things that's happening right now is the stock market is at an all-time high. Again, right? That keeps happening. There's a lot of money printing. It's finding itself in places like stocks. And so today we're going to take a little diversion from real estate, kind of. Again, before you're a real estate investor, you're an investor. We're going to talk about what's going on with this crazy stock market and what's a person to do.
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things happened to us. We were a local radio show in the San Francisco Bay Area for a while, and then 2008 came. And even though we'd been syndicated and we were in stations all across the country, our real focus was our local club and our local show. And then all of a sudden 2008 happened, and we had all those hardships that everybody else did because we didn't see the macro tsunami coming. And when it hit us hard. And so we woke up and said, hey, we need to start paying attention to people and get outside this little thought bubble, this echo chamber of real estate investors that we live in. We started going to economic conferences. We started realizing that policy, and you hate to get political, but policy affects real estate and investing in the economics that you're swimming in when you're making those investments. And so we started paying attention to those things as well. And then that got us going to these conferences, listening to economists, seeking out interviews with all of these people that we brought our audience over the last 10 or 12 years. It certainly opened up our world. It changed the nature of our summit, which has just become this epic opportunity to congregate with people that have all kinds of diverse backgrounds and perspectives and expertise. Some of them aren't even real estate people, but that isn't the point. The point is that we all have something in common. We live in an economic ecosystem that affects our investing, whether you're a stock investor, a bond investor, a saver, you're investing in private businesses, public businesses, real estate, debt. It doesn't matter, right? We're all in this together, if you will. And the more perspectives you can get, the bigger the picture you can see, the more voices you have helping you interpret all of the chaos that's going on, the more likely you are to be able to find that path and navigate through the choppy waters to find safe harbors, solid, resilient investments, and mitigate your downside risk while taking advantage of the upside opportunities.
For more than a decade, we've known our guest today. He has been named one of the top 20 living economists for 40 years now. He's been writing an excellent economic and stock-based newsletter. He talks about not just technical analysis, but a lot more fundamental analysis. In fact, value, which is what we'll talk to him about today. He also produces one of the coolest events we go to every year. When we come back, we'll say hello to Dr. Mark Skousen today on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, it's Robert Helms. Thanks so much for listening to the show today. I want to personally invite you to come see an amazing real estate market that combines excellent cash flow, offshore diversification, and what we affectionately call lifestyle investing. Come join me from August 20th to 23rd in the beautiful country of Belize. The Real Estate Guys have been bringing investors to Belize for more than 15 years now, and our discovery trip is designed to show you the market like nobody else can. Sure, Belize is breathtakingly beautiful. The people are wonderful. And wait till you taste the food. But the real opportunity is the real estate investment potential. Demand for offshore real estate has skyrocketed since the coronavirus shutdown, and with retirees looking for lifestyle, the work-from-home workforce able to be productive from afar, and tourism coming back strong, now may be the perfect time to consider Belize as a place to diversify risk in your investment portfolio. There's all types of opportunities in Belize when it comes to real estate investing, including both long and short-term rentals, commercial and retail triple net properties, business opportunities, land acquisition, development, agriculture, and more. As the only country in Latin America with English as its official language, it's easy to understand the law. Property rights are strong, and contracts are written in English. And in Ambergris Caye, a unique situation exists where demand for rentals continues to outstrip supply, creating a compelling environment for investors. So come see for yourself. Join me in August in Ambergris Caye, Belize, as we study the market, learn about the sustainable drivers, and tour lots of beautiful real estate. And like all of our field trips, there are no properties for sale during the weekend. Rather, you'll meet lots of local providers that will help educate you about the market so that you can follow up with them after the trip if the market is interesting to you. You've heard about Belize and the Real Estate Guys for all these years. Now come see what all the excitement is about. Plus, we'll have lots of time over meals and activities to talk about all things real estate. To get the details, go to the website at realestateguysradio.com and click on events where you'll find the Belize Discovery Trip. Once you register, you'll get information about our group hotel rates as well as travel details. So join me in Belize, August 20th to 23rd. It's a beautiful country with lots of amazing possibilities, and the only thing missing is you. Go to realestateguysradio.com under events, and I look forward to seeing you in beautiful Belize.
Hi, I'm G. Edward Griffin, author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, a second look at the Federal Reserve. And you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program, now in our 25th year of broadcast. Thanks for tuning in today. We love real estate, but we also recognize that real estate as an investment floats in an economic sea, which is why we're always looking at the bigger picture. And the thing we haven't talked about that much, other than in passing since COVID, is what's going on with the stock market? How are people reacting there? So we thought we would pick up big brain and bring one of our friends onto the program who for more than 40 years has written an incredible newsletter called Forecasts and Strategies. He knows the markets like nobody's business. Please welcome back to the Real Estate Guys program, Dr. Mark Skousen. Hey, Mark.
How are you, Robert? It's nice to be with you and with Russell. I'm out in California right now. It's a little bit of a hazy day, but normally it's pretty sunny out here, and everything is coming up roses, even taxes here in California, right?
Well, happy to hear that. And of course, you've been all over the place, right? As you go and teach and lecture and write your books and all of that. And we come together a few times a year normally, but boy, this COVID thing has been crazy. And let's talk about that, Mark, what you've seen just in terms of reaction to the market, the money printing, stimulus, stock market's up still. What's the big picture?
Yeah, it's really interesting how things have changed rather dramatically since the beginning of 2020, since March of 2020. Incredible power government has to change our lives for good and for bad. I do think that, we've had a major political shift from Trump to Biden. I think that's a very significant move that's affecting the markets. Federal Reserve throughout it all has been extremely stimulative, and there's still a lot of deniers there, including the Fed chairman, Jay Powell, who thinks this is just a temporary phenomenon. But when you increase the money supply by 26% and it continues to increase, that sustains a higher level of inflation. So I do see a significant return of inflation. We're already seeing this in higher prices for even consumer goods now. We've seen it in the commodities sector, a dramatic rise in copper prices, aluminum, oil, even gold and silver starting to move, lumber prices, used cars. We have a chip shortage. there's lots of things going on that encourage significant higher prices. And we're seeing it in real estate prices too, as I'm sure you're well aware of. And one of the things that the Austrian School of Economics, of which I'm a major follower, is, Ludwig von Mises said, who gets the money first and where does that money go? And of course, one of the places where the new money, the easy money is going is into the stock market and into real estate and other hard assets. And it's going into cryptocurrencies, and it's going into lots of speculative vehicles that really have very little value. We're seeing lots of mini tulip manias going on, and it's all very inflationary. So that's a big change. And one of the things that I try to do in every January issue of my newsletter, Forecasts and Strategies, is I give a prediction. My crystal ball is pretty clear right now. We're headed for more inflation, higher prices. I think interest rates are going to continue to rise because they are linked ultimately with what is happening with inflation. So that may temper a little bit the real estate boom and the stock market when there's a transition period. And I think we're going to go through several corrections, significant corrections in the stock market with higher interest rates and higher inflation. Inflation is a great threat to the stock and bond markets, and there has to be an adjustment period there. But there's also great technology going on that is genuine. We don't want to ignore the fact that technology, the creation of these vaccines that have allowed the government to back off its draconian authoritarian mandates and prohibitions that finally being at least reduced. I think we're seeing some permanent changes. It will be really interesting to see if the mask mandate continues on all of the airlines as we fly around and stuff like that. I fear that it's going to be some kind of a permanent change, just like the TSA was a permanent change. Anyway, I've been talking about a lot of different issues. If there's some areas that you think you would like to go into more detail, I'd be glad to do so. But I'm 100% invested in the stock market. That includes real estate, the Real Estate Investment Trust. I have the Omega Healthcare Investor, which invests the REIT that invests in nursing homes, for example. I've always felt that the stock market is a great, easy way to invest in real estate. When you look at housing, wide variety of ways to invest with real estate investment trusts and with housing stocks and that sort of thing. It's so much more convenient than having to buy a home and rent it out and deal with all the landlord problems and stuff like that. You can avoid that with a stock market.
Well, Mark, I'm glad you brought that up because it's one of the ways that people get exposure to real estate without all the headache. I mean, a lot of our listeners are willing to go through that headache, right? They're the kind of folks that are making money by flipping houses or long-term production of income or development or syndication. But for the average person, if you're interested in what's happening in real estate and want some exposure to it, you mentioned some of the ways to do that, right? And over the years, you've talked to us about the REITs that are specialty areas of real estate, things like the home builder stocks. And there's different ways to get exposure to real estate that doesn't have to mean I own the house.
Plus, you get some very generous dividends in many cases. So you get positive cash flow, even at these high prices. So there's I think a lot to be said for going this route. I mean, I've done both. I've had rental properties and I've had to deal with landlord problems and negative cash flow and all of those kinds of things. But the older I get, the more I prefer these lazy man's way to real estate investing. That's the way I like to call it.
That sounds like a new Mark Skousen book in the works right there. Yeah. Well, hey, Mark, you hit a bunch of stuff out of the gate, and that's awesome. And we're watching many of those same things. Obviously, inflation, a concern. People don't understand inflation. They just see prices going up, and it's good when it's their house, and it's bad when it's at the gas pump. But I think the overlay on that is just the stimulus, right? All the money that's been printed, it does find its yourself into the hard assets you talked about, as well as, something you might consider less of a hard asset like a big screen TV. There are folks that it makes better sense for them not to work than work. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. What we've seen in the construction pricing, right? Lumber and copper and all of that. How much of that do you think is supply chain interruption because of COVID? And how much of that is really just inflation because there's more money in the economy?
Yeah, I think it's both. And so the market will respond and the supply chains will become more open and we'll have more supply out there. But the demand side of it cannot be ignored. And when you're handing out all this free money out of Washington, and the other thing that you're doing is the Biden administration is, I believe, deliberately making it difficult for companies to hire new workers because there's a huge labor supply shortage right now that's going on. And what is that going to do? Well, that's going to force companies to pay their workers more. And that's what the unions want. That's what Biden wants. He wants to see the $15 minimum wage. And he's doing it indirectly by causing companies to be forced to pay higher wages to get people off of the dole and to get back to work. And it's really kind of a sad commentary that is going on. So labor costs are also going up. And I think that is not just temporary. I think that's a permanent method that the Biden and the union people are really pushing. And that's a big negative in terms of inflation. I think that we're headed for much higher levels of inflation. We're going back to the 70s in many ways. And a lot of people are comparing Biden to Jimmy Carter. Frankly, there's a similar kind of comparison, I think, that is going on. Very pro-union, inflationary, higher interest rates, higher inflation, that kind of thing, and more regulation and higher taxes. I mean, Jimmy Carter favored all of those kinds of things, and you have a Federal Reserve that's very accommodating for that sort of thing.
Well, Mark, speaking of this throwback to the 70s, and I hear where you're going on that, there are folks out there who are concerned, worried about the reoccurrence of stagflation. As an economist, can you kind of take us through what stagflation is and then tell us if you think that's a possibility? Are we there?
So stagflation involves higher prices, but at the same time, decline in real GDP, so that basically price inflation is rising faster than nominal GDP or output. So it's too much money chasing too few goods is the way of describing that. So you have a lot of shortages going on. You have the chip shortage. You have a temporary decline. I mean, even a shortage in oil and gas may be developing here as more inflation is pumped into the system. As long as the entrepreneurial spirit is still in America, I don't see us lagging too much. I think real economic growth is slowing down a little bit. I think that is a problem. So yes, stagflation, I think, is a real possibility, but I think it's more slow growth rather than actual decline in GDP.
Got it. Hey, Mark, the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, you've stated that you come from the Austrian School of Economics. And in fact, I think the very first time we went to your amazing event that we'll talk about before we're done here, you did kind of a pre-conference session on Austrian versus Keynesian economics. And Russ and I sat there and having, some exposure to that. You just blew our mind. I mean, just like you just explained the whole thing. You took 3 hours to do it. It was extraordinary. And I'm like, wow, all of a sudden I have a new context. What can you say about this whole modern monetary theory that people are out there touting?
Yeah, MMT, modern monetary theory, is basically a form of what we call crude Keynesian economics. And the idea is that you can print more money. A sovereign nation can print its own currency in unlimited amounts, and it's technically never going to go bankrupt. You have legal tender laws and so forth. And you can run deficits as long as day, going on and on, running deficits, and that's okay as long as you're at less than full employment. if you haven't achieved a first-class healthcare system, if everybody doesn't have a job, there's this unemployed resources. As long as that's the case, you can print as much money as you want, you can run the deficits forever, and it's not going to be a problem. The reason this is dangerous is because at some point you have to pay the piper. With the printing of money, you depreciate the currency, and so everybody ends up paying through inflation. In the case of deficit spending, you're borrowing money. Granted, you're borrowing money at very low interest rates, but what happens when interest rates start rising? How do you refinance that huge national debt? Well, you do it with extremely high interest rates. And so now your federal budget, instead of 5% going to pay the interest on the debt, suddenly it's 20% or it's 25%. And, when you're saying, hey, all I'm doing is taxing people so that they can pay bondholders who are wealthy individuals, there's a tremendous redistribution of wealth from the middle class to the wealthy. And it goes contrary to everything they stand for. I've actually written a whole academic article criticizing the modern monetary theory that is out there by these radical Keynesians. And I've called it, there's much ruin in a nation. This is a quote from Adam Smith, who once said, there's much ruin in a nation. He meant to be very optimistic, saying, well, you can do a lot of damage to the economy before you destroy the greatness of our country. But they are making every attempt with this MMT to ruin a great nation. And it's very dangerous. And the fact that you have people in the Biden administration who are believers in this modern monetary theory, it's reckless. And it goes totally contrary to Austrian economics, which teaches people accountability. It teaches people sound money. It teaches, honest money. It teaches people to live within your budget. Savings is good, not bad. Deficits are bad. Now, debt is not necessarily bad. You guys use it in real estate all the time. But you use it only if you have the ability to pay the monthly payments. If you can't pay the monthly payments, you're entering a very dangerous period where you might have to default on your real estate, and that's a whole can of worms.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with debt per se. I'll tell you, there's a real interesting chart that I reproduce in my latest newsletter, Forecasts and Strategies. So it's a picture since 2008, since the financial crisis of 2008. It shows personal debt going up. It shows corporate debt going up, but very little. It suggests that individuals and households and corporations are actually very prudent in handling their debt. But the federal government is going through the roof. They're totally irresponsible. And the contrast between the federal government and the private sector is unbelievable, the difference in the two.
That's awesome. Hey, before we take our break, Mark, obviously you've been for many years talking about the stock market, and you watch it super carefully. You've made some great calls over the years. What about that person who's listening who maybe hasn't really invested in the stock market, and they're thinking, well, is it too late? Is it too high? You mentioned earlier you're fully invested. We're in the market as well. What are your thoughts on someone getting started and where we are? I know you can't time the market, but what advice would you give to someone new to this area of investing?
So we recommend both growth in the technology of the future, as well as value investing, income investing, and that sort of thing. And right now, income investing and value investing is a better place to be because the growth stocks have just gone through the roof. I mean, the technology stocks, there's an old phrase that I have in the Maxims of Wall Street, my collection of all the sayings on Wall Street, and that is the easy money has been made. So there's a lot more risk involved in investing in Tesla after it's already gone up 10 times, and investing in the various internet stocks and Facebook and Netflix, the FANG stocks and that sort of thing. All of them have gone through the roof. I think they're fully valued. They may go up more, but I think it's much smarter to be in these value plays, stocks that actually went down last year. And the real estate investment trusts fit in that category. Not necessarily the builder stocks, as the home builder stocks have gone through the roof also. But you've seen a nice recovery in the like Main Street Capital is one of my favorites. MAIN, Main is the symbol. That stock's had a really nice recovery. These stocks that are paying 6-7% dividend yields, oil stocks, Enterprise Products Partners, EPD is the symbol, is one that I've been recommending. So these are what we call value stocks. They're selling for 10 times earnings. They haven't done well in the past, but this is their era. This is their time period to be invested. So we're in the growth stocks, but I'm not as big a fan. So they've gone up so high. So the value investing, I think, is a better place to be.
Our guest today is Dr. Mark Skousen, one of the top 20 living economists. We'll have more from Mark, and we'll play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
Hey everybody, Ken McElroy. If you're looking for a fun way to expand your network, learn from experts, and take your business to the next level, I have just the event for you. This June 11th through June 19th, come see me at the 19th Annual Investor Summit. This event is hosted every year by Robert Helms and Russell Gray from the Real Estate Guys radio show. This is a lively, informative gathering attended by leaders in investing, economics, real estate, and entrepreneurship. The best part is that it's in Belize, an ocean paradise where guests can spend the week learning and engaging with each other while also exploring the tropical wonderland. Soak in the surroundings as well as incredible speakers like Robert Kiyosaki, George Gammon, myself, and many others. The event is fun, relaxed, with an approachable atmosphere that feels like a luxury summer camp for investors.
Join Kenny McElroy and an all-star faculty in beautiful Belize. Go to investorsummitonsand.com. That's investorsummitonsand.com.
Having trouble finding deals where the numbers make sense? Invest in an asset class that delivers cash flow to you in good times and bad, and where most of that cash flow is tax-free. I'm Dave Zook. Many of you have heard me speak at Real Estate Guys events or heard me on their podcast. My team is a top 5 ATM operator in the country, and right now accredited investors can make cash flow returns well into the double digits and get huge tax deductions. For your free report on this lucrative asset class, email atm@realestateguysradio.com.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Hi, this is Kim Kiyosaki. I'm the author of Rich Woman, and you are listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you want to see an awesome real estate market up close and personal, well, get signed up for our next Belize Discovery trip. We head to Belize in August for 4 days of fabulous fun. All the details at our website at realestateguysradio.com under events. We're talking with economist Mark Skousen today, and before we get back to that interview, it's time to play real estate trivia and give away a prize. In fact, we're going to give away one of Mark Skousen's books, and you're going to love it. It's called The Maxims of Wall Street, just entering its 10th edition, a collection of really cool quotes and quips that Mark's put together over the years. That can be yours if you're the first person to answer our real estate trivia question correctly. In just a minute, you'll hear the question. You need to get the answer to us at trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Include your name, the answer to the question, and your physical mailing address, and that way we can send you an autographed copy of The Maxims of Wall Street. Last week on The Real Estate Guys, we had Kenny McElroy on the program, another awesome show, and we asked this: which U.S. city has the highest percentage of renters? Well, according to Insurify and statistics published by City Data for 2020, the answer is New Haven, Connecticut, where 71.4% of the population rent, followed by Brooklyn, New York at 70.4%, and Miami, Florida, with renters representing 68.7% of the population. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. Dr. Skousen's annual event FreedomFest this year is moving to Rapid City, South Dakota, very near the famous Mount Rushmore. Here's what we want to know. How was Mount Rushmore named? That's a great real estate trivia question. There's a big chunk of real estate. How was Mount Rushmore named? If you know or just want to guess, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Give us your best guess, your name, and your physical mailing address, and Dr. Skousen will send you a personally autographed copy of The Maxims of Wall Street. That's today's real estate trivia question. We're with the author of that awesome book, The Maxims of Wall Street, Dr. Mark Skousen, and this book is now in its 10th anniversary edition. Mark, tell us about that.
The Maxims of Wall Street is a unique book. It's the only collection of all the Wall Street sayings. I've been doing it for 10 years now, like sell in May and go away and don't come back till Labor Day.
Yeah.
And I even have a great real estate quote from a guy named Jack Miller who said, want to become a millionaire? Borrow $1 million and pay it off. And that's what you do with a mortgage.
Yep.
You pay it every month. If you have $1 million mortgage, you're worth $1 million once you pay that 30-year or 15-year mortgage on.
And the tenant pays it.
Yes, that's right. That's true. Another one of my favorite sayings on the Maxims is, nothing can make the spirit fly higher than finding a bargain when you're the buyer. And nothing can make the spirit sink deeper than finding it later a whole lot cheaper. So
love that. It's a classic book. If you didn't win an autographed copy today, you're still going to want to pick up The Maxims of Wall Street, and we'll tell you where you can do that in just a minute. Before we go there, though, Mark, you've covered a ton, and we could talk for hours. But even though you're a stock guy, it's very rare that someone can catch you on the street and find you without a coin in your pocket. Tell us what you're thinking about the metals, gold and silver, and what that looks like today.
Sure. I always carry American Eagle silver dollar with me, which is the symbol of FreedomFest, a symbol of sound money and an inflation hedge and liberty. And I also carry a gold coin with me, a Mexican 50 peso gold coin, which is 1.2 ounces of gold. So that my original investments were gold and silver, not the stock and bond market in the 1970s. So I've been a big fan over the years of gold and silver, but realizing that they're extremely volatile. Most people buy gold but don't sell it. It's more of a hedge, an insurance policy. And I'm actually recommending some gold stocks now in my portfolio because it's a leveraged way to profit from gold and silver and higher inflation in the future. I do have a position in gold and in gold stocks, silver, cryptocurrencies. I'm a great believer in the future of this new blockchain technology. There are a lot of crazy tulip mania type of speculations out there in the crypto world, so you got to be really careful. I think a lot of people are going to be burned in that regard, but the ones that are genuine, that offer a real service, this is a great new technology. This is like the invention of the internet.
You know, Mark, the place we first learned about Bitcoin and blockchain was at your amazing event, FreedomFest. We never miss it. This is an amazing opportunity to get together. You call it the largest gathering of free minds. And I'll tell you, the first time we went, we didn't know what to expect. We'd heard about you as an economist and read one of your books. And then we sat in that session that I referred to and wow, this is amazing stuff. And since then, it just gets better and better. Last year, of course, with the whole COVID shutdown, the event didn't happen, and that left us all upset, mad, and itching to see each other. But it's back and better than ever. Tell us about this year's Freedom Fest coming up in July.
Well, actually, because Freedom Fest was shut down by the imperial governor of Nevada, and I'm thoroughly convinced that we could have put on a successful program. Although the government and the media have did a tremendous job of scaring people to death, and we had a lot of cancellations, and people were afraid to come and so forth. So we moved on to this year, and in concern that Las Vegas would still be shut down and they still have mask mandates and who knows what else could happen there, we made the decision to move out of Las Vegas, and we went to the freest state in the nation, the land of the free, and that's South Dakota, which is in the middle of the country. But we're meeting at Mount Rushmore, actually 20 minutes away from Mount Rushmore at Rapid City. So it's a little bit different story in that regard. The Rushmore Civic Center is where we are having Freedom Fest. And we have a tremendous response. We probably have over 2,200 people who are already signed up for this event. People are so excited. It's just amazing how many people have not been to Mount Rushmore. I don't know if either one of you have been to Mount Rushmore.
Nope. We were going to come no matter where you held it, but when we learned it was at Mount Rushmore, we're like, we definitely got to come check that out. I know you're doing tours up there and the evening lighting ceremony and all that stuff. And it's just, you've always used Las Vegas as kind of a metaphor for freedom, because whether you agree or not with what goes on in Las Vegas, it kind of does stand for doing your own thing and having some freedom and maybe even some privacy. Well, now, as you mentioned, the political landscape and the mask mandate and so forth. So a lot of events have moved to South Dakota, and we're excited to join you there.
Yeah, the dates are July 21st through the 24th at the Rushmore Civic Center, Rapid City. The hotel situation is quite different. We've had to really scramble to find hotel space because it's not like Las Vegas in that respect. But we found all kinds of hotel opportunities, Airbnb. A lot of people are coming with their RVs and making it a family vacation. It truly is remarkable what people are doing to take advantage of Freedom Fest. You mentioned the excursion. So Deadwood, which is not far from there, is an historic gambling town. That's where Wild Bill Hickok was shot with a dead man's hand in his hand. There's a lot of history there that I think is really going to be fun. And we have some really great speakers there. And, we always have a number of big name speakers every year at Freedom Fest. And so this year we have Dr. Drew Pinsky, who is one of the foremost medical doctors on TV. We have Larry Elder, who a lot of your people may know as one of the top disc jockeys out of California. We have Dave Rubin, who does a podcast. JP Sears for young people is quite a great comedian. We have John Mackey, the CEO of Whole Foods Market, speaking. Actually, he's debating Yoren Brook on the purpose of business. Is it just profit, or is there more to business than profit? We think so. One of our most controversial speakers is Ayan Hirsi Ali. Ayan Hirsi Ali is a former Muslim who is quite critical of Islam as a religion and the fundamentalism there. She requires two bodyguards to protect her. She is also the wife of Neil Ferguson, who is the Harvard historian that a lot of people may know. And, we have Tom Woods coming. Tom Woods' show, his podcast is really quite famous. And we have Governor Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, who's going to be greeting us. And at a reception, you'll get a chance to meet her. A lot of people think she's the next presidential candidate or vice president candidate. She's really up and coming. I'm very impressed with her philosophy and the way she speaks. She doesn't insult all the people like Donald Trump was and that sort of thing. We also have Dennis Quaid, the actor, who is the veteran actor who actually played Reagan in an upcoming biopic called Reagan. And he considers Reagan his favorite president. And he's coming and speaking. And a lot of people think he has political ambitions. So you get a chance to meet him as well. Let me also mention that we have our 10th anniversary of the Anthem Film Festival at FreedomFest. So for film lovers, this is going to be quite a treat for the 10th anniversary. My wife, Joanne, does the Anthem Film Festival. And it's amazing how many people just loved to see some of these new documentaries and narratives and different things on various topics and stuff. And of course, we have Media Row, where you guys are there interviewing people. And we have a huge exhibit hall. We have over 130 exhibitors coming this year. It's a record number of exhibitors. So you have think tanks and you have freedom organizations. You have the Freedom Fest bookstore, autograph sessions. There's a lot of buzz, as you know, in that arena. And of course, we have a 3-day investment conference, which always includes real estate, as well as stocks and bonds and crypto. We have a big crypto versus gold debate. As you can see, I can go on and on about all the great things we're doing at this year's Freedom Fest. It's going to be a zoo, folks. It's just going to be so much fun.
Well, it's always a great event. And some of the things you brought up I think are just so unique. The fact that you always have these debates, and they're fascinating. They're respectful, but they do get a little heated. And yet people come from two different sides. And over the years, some amazing debates. The film festival, not only do you get to see some really cool independent films, some are 8 or 12 minutes, some are 2-hour documentaries, but often afterwards, there's a discussion. Many times the director or a producer is there. So that's really a lively part of it too. And just the variety of ideas and people that you meet. I mean, we're always astounded at it. It's been great for the real estate guys. It's a place we've got to meet and get to know Steve Forbes and John Mackey and a lot of different folks that you have regularly, but also just the attendees tend to be curious, interested, have great discussions, and not everybody agrees on everything, which I think is actually really healthy.
Yeah, Robert, we really emphasize civil discussion, that we're there to learn from each other. We're not there to who wins the debate. We do have our mock trial this year, which is on the pandemic. Did the pandemic justify the lockdown? And I'll tell you what's really interesting. We're having a hard time finding people to come, the experts, the government officials, and the medical doctors to defend the lockdown. All of them are in favor of the lockdown, but when it comes to appearing before a judge and a prosecuting attorney and cross-examination, which we do in the mock trial is always our most popular event.
Yep.
We're having a difficult time coming up with people. I mean, we'll get them. We might have to draw people from the audience. Is there anyone here who favors the lockdown? And we might get 1 or 2 people to come up and defend it. We also have a couple of, I already mentioned the debate we'll have between Joran Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute and John Mackey. That'll be a really big one. But we also have a debate on the Catholic Church. We have Doug Casey. He grew up a Catholic and he's quite critical. He's an atheist, anarcho-atheist type. So we have someone defending the Catholic Church and Christianity. I think that'll be a fun debate topic. We also have 2 debate topics with Mount Rushmore. One is, we have 4 presidents who are on Mount Rushmore, but are they the 4 best presidents that should be on Mount Rushmore? So we're going to have a really fun discussion about, most people say, yeah, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, they definitely belong there. But does Teddy Roosevelt, who was a bit of a warmonger, and Abraham Lincoln, who, he's very controversial among libertarians, on whether we really needed to go through a civil war that killed 600,000 Americans. So that'll be kind of a fun discussion. Maybe Reagan belongs on there or what have you. The other thing we're going to do is what 4 economists should be on Mount Rushmore.
Wow.
And so we'll have a debate on whether who are the great Austrian economists, or should it be Keynes and should it be Marx and people like that, or is it Adam Smith? who belongs. So we have 4 great economists coming together. We'll have Steve Moore, we have John Fund coming, Tom Woods, there's Deidre McCloskey. So we have a lot of economists coming, and they're going to have that debate as well. You could do the same thing. Who are the 4 real estate gurus who should be on Mount Rushmore? That would be kind of an interesting discussion.
There you go.
Because you have some great real estate people, but you also have some people who, the rise and fall of people like Robert Allen, people like that, they were great in their time, and yet where are they today?
Good stuff. Well, hey, you always get inspired learning about what's going to happen next, although no matter what, we're coming. Hey, Mark has made a really cool offer to our listeners. You can save $50 on the registration fee, which is pretty nominal as it is. But to find out about that, all you're going to do is send an email to freedomfest@realestateguysradio.com, freedomfest@realestateguysradio.com. You'll get the link to sign up for the bonus. You also get to find out what the real estate guys are doing. We usually figure out a way to have some fun, and this sounds like a cool place to have some new experiences. So, Mark, it's been great catching up with you. We can't wait to see you in person, and I know the event's going to be awesome because it always is. Your team does such a good job, and we appreciate everything you've done for us today. Thanks for being back on the program.
Thank you. And it's just going to be a pleasure to see both of you again. It'll be hectic, but we will make the point of saying hello, and really looking forward to meeting everybody. It's my 40th anniversary of my newsletter, so we're having a special event there. And with Dennis Quaid coming and the governor, Noam and stuff, Grover Norquist, there's all kinds of really fascinating people that will show up there, including many what we call quiet billionaires who show up. It's truly amazing, the people that you meet there who have deep pockets, and they're there just almost anonymously. It's a wonderful opportunity to meet other people. So again, thank you for inviting me, and look forward to seeing both you and Russ. It'll be a great experience.
It's going to rock. There's Dr. Mark Skousen. More when we come back. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
When it comes to successful rental property investing, it pays to be picky. Pick the right markets, pick profitable properties, and pick great property management. That's easier said than done, but we've got great news. Terry Kerr and his rockstar team at Mid-South Homebuyers are going strong in Memphis, Tennessee, and Little Rock, Arkansas, too. So for a top-notch turnkey single-family home rental property, whether you're a new investor or have a large portfolio already, pick Terry Kerr and Mid-South for a truly A-plus investing experience. To learn more, send an email to midsouth@realestateguysradio.com. That's midsouth@realestateguysradio.com.
Hey, ever wished you could go back in time and do some tax planning? Now you can, just like Marty McFly. Lucky for you, a brand new federal law just made this possible with an EQRP to get tax deductions and reduce your taxable income from last year, so you can use that tax savings to invest in real estate, Bitcoin, gold, even your own business. Whether you're a full-time investor, doctor, government employee, even if you have 5 or 50 employees, the EQRP works and is your secret weapon, and now it's retroactive. Hey, I'm Damian Lupo, and we have your solution. By the way, if you got bad advice and used an IRA for an apartment syndication, you are sitting on a U-bit time bomb. But don't worry, there's a solution, the EQRP. The EQRP company is ready to help you get control of your money, kill U-bit, and help you pay way less taxes. Want to learn more about this strategy? Send an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com for my special EQRP report. Paying tax or letting Wall Street suck you dry is dumb. Your first step is freeing your retirement money by sending an email to eqrp@realestateguysradio.com today.
Hey everybody, Tom Ziegler here. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys with the one and only Robert Helms. I was privileged to be on the program, and I got to tell you, this is where you go for wisdom. And as Dad would say, the checkup from the neck up to get rid of the hardening of the attitude so that you can make a difference in the lives of other people. So glad you're here.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks for tuning into the show. We're glad you're here, and we were certainly glad to get to spend some time with Dr. Mark Skousen.
Yeah, I mean, I consider him to be one of my mentors in terms of economics. Certainly, you had mentioned that we learned a lot from him at that very first Freedom Fest where we went to that pre-conference workshop. I didn't realize that I kind of leaned Austrian. I understood the principles, but I'd never heard the term. And I certainly didn't understand the contrast between the Keynesian view and the Austrian view. And he just made that crystal clear. And of course, the people that we've met through him and the things that he has stimulated in us, I can't say that I've always agreed. In fact, in the very first time he came on our investor summit, we did that big asset class debate. And that was a ton of fun. And we just learned the value of debating from having gone to Freedom Fest. We said, hey, let's incorporate that in our event. And we had Peter Schiff and Ken McElroy and Tom Wheelwright was on that. Mark Skousen was in that. I got a chance to represent one of the asset classes you moderated. Can't remember who else was in that. But it was a fantastic, fantastic discussion about the pros and cons of different ways to approach growing and protecting your wealth.
Well, and as Mark talks about, a lot of people, they just gravitate to the stock market because it's easier, because they can click an app in their diaper, right? It doesn't take all the thought and knowledge and the things that folks who are listening to this show go through to learn their craft. Doesn't mean that folks don't get good at it. Mark certainly knows his stuff, but I think there's also some in-between area, right? One of the things that Mark mentioned, and we would agree with this, to get exposure to real estate, if you're a stock investor, there are stocks that definitely get that exposure, even sometimes leverage to real estate, just like the mining stocks can get leverage to gold. But I think there's also a great area to play in between just a public security and owning a piece of property myself, and that's through private placements.
Yeah, private placements are basically what we call syndications, and we just think it's the sweet spot because it allows a mom and pop investor to go bigger, to raise money. We talk about this all the time, and if you've been listening to the show for any length of time, you know that. If you're on our mailing list, you know that we promote it all the time. We think it's the single best opportunity in real estate, and everybody who's serious about real estate investing should learn how to do it. It doesn't have to be their main thing, but the concept is that you get the convenience of being invested where someone else is managing the asset and bearing the brunt of the responsibility of dealing with the daily hassle, and you get to go along for the ride. The difference is you don't have the same level of counterparty risk. You don't have the same level of the volatility because it's not a publicly traded stock. There's a lot less opportunity. In fact, there's almost no opportunity for manipulation besides what's going on in the general market. And most of all, it's extremely private. So from an estate planning and asset protection perspective, it's actually a whole lot safer than having your real estate portfolio exposed purely through publicly traded securities that are going to be registered through a broker-dealer and very easily found by anybody who's trying to do a serious search on you. So there's really some advantages to doing it. Of course, it's not quite as convenient as being able to go into the publicly traded markets, but it's a heck of a lot more convenient than going out looking for properties and negotiating rents and hiring property managers and, overseeing rehab crews and all of that. It's really the sweet spot, and we love it.
Well, in fact, coming up in September, it is our next Secrets of Successful Syndication, and it's really aimed at two groups of folks, people that have kind of run out of their own money and credit and want to do more and have already got some expertise in market knowledge and want to become syndicators. And the other group is just folks that would like to passively invest and learn how to vet these types of deals. So you can check out our website at realestateguysradio.com under events to learn about the secrets of successful syndication. If you want to hang out with the real estate guys in South Dakota and go see Mount Rushmore, well, then you're definitely going to be at Freedom Fest this year. Mark's made that gracious offer to our listeners. So to take him up on that, just send an email to freedomfest@realestateguysradio.com. freedomfest@realestateguysradio.com. And as they say on the radio, we'll see you there. Hey, big thanks to Dr. Mark Skousen for sharing his brain power with us today. Next week, we're going to start a new series. It's a 3-week deep dive into a very interesting niche of real estate investing. Until then, go out and make some equity happen.
Hey everybody, it's Ken McElroy, and I'm on with the Real Estate Guys, and I'm very excited to be a guest and a speaker at the Investor Summit on the Sand in Belize coming up. If you haven't signed up, be sure to do so.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct.
asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.